Hi, this is Rob Anspach, and in today's interview, I have a very energetic, dynamic author, speaker, book coach. So I'm going to bring on Shelley Hitz, and we're going to talk about things that you can do if you're an author to get your books on Amazon or get the audience that you want to look at your books. So welcome, Shelley, and I'm glad that you're able to come.
Thank you, Rob. I'm so excited to be here, and it is around 8:30 in the morning here in Colorado. So I'm just kind of getting up, raring to start this day, and this is a great way to do it.
You see that? You're full of energy already, and I can't take it.
Yes. I actually had somebody tell me at a live event I was speaking at for authors. He's like, I don't normally like energetic people, but he said, I took more notes in your session than I took at any other session ever before. And it was funny because he's like, I normally don't like, but that's just who I am. I'm not putting on a face. That, you'll find that I'm the same all around social media, and I love what I'm doing. I have passion for it, and you'll definitely see that come through.
Now, as an author, as a person that helps other authors, you had mentioned social media, and I'm a big proponent of social media because I've written books about it. But I think that authors still don't know how to use social media effectively to promote themselves and also give an atmosphere that they can be trusted, so people come to them to buy their books. How do you approach that?
Exactly. That is something I teach about all the time, and I actually have a post on my blog at shelleyhitz.com, what not to post when sharing your book on social media, because what I notice is I notice certain things, certain mistakes over and over and over. And I think the tendency for authors is, you've written this book, you've birthed this book, you've spent so much time, and now you just want people to read it. And there's such an excitement. There's either a passion and excitement or there's a desperation. Like, I just need people to buy my book now because, I need to make back my investment. I want to get my book out there. So there's either, the excitement or the desperation, and there's this, buy my book, here's my book, here's my book. Instead of offering engaging information, like on social media, it's supposed to be social, right? We're supposed to be engaging. We're supposed to be and being social there, and not just promotional. And so people get turned off by that, and they'll turn you off on Facebook. Like, they'll stop seeing you in their feeds, or people will just not know what to say. They'll just get to social media and turn blank. Like, what do I say? And so, in that post, I also give suggestions, or on my blog, I also give suggestions on what to post, because there's just different ideas and things that you can post. But yeah, it's to be engaging, it's to be social, it's to be helpful, offering tips and strategies. I just posted a video on Facebook on 5 tips for video marketing on your iPhone, and I'm in the middle of a 40-day video challenge because I'm a speaker. I'm wanting to do more speaking. Video works really well for me, and so I'm really trying to build some momentum. Well, people are noticing what I'm doing, and when I posted that video, it got so much positive feedback because it was helpful. And so I think if you can be entertaining, if you can be helpful, engaging, inspirational, I post inspirational quotes every morning, those are the types of things that will draw people to you. You want to, be a magnet to people instead of, pushing them away with, get my stuff, I'm desperate for you to read my book, buy my book, and so it's just it's a change in mindset.
Yeah, it really is, and one of the things that I've done is I've always asked people, when you have my book, if you enjoyed my book, take a picture with my book and send it to me. Post it on my Facebook wall, because now other people are seeing their friend, with my book.
Social proof.
Yeah, right. And now they're going to say, wow, you know what? I want to see that book. I want to read that book. Where can I get it? And it builds engagement. It builds conversation. But it's not always about, plugging my book. It's about, getting people to take silly pictures with my book. It's not just, hey, I'm sitting on the couch reading Rob's book. Who cares? Go to the beach. Get it on, go on an airplane. I mean, people send me these weird pictures. And, I had one person take a picture of my book, and they were in a hot tub. Granted, I couldn't see anything. They were covered with bubbles. But my book has traveled to places that only I could just imagine myself going one day. And it's great to see people in all different countries share that experience that they've had with that book. And from my perspective, I've written 3 books, but the one was just an e-book, and the one was kind of my way of kind of getting into the book publishing. I wasn't quite sure if I wanted to do it. I think I needed that kick in the butt. So I wrote this short 20-page e-book, and I put it out there. And I was flabbergasted because people started buying it. And I'm like, what?
This works.
Yeah. So I went to a seminar, and on the plane home, I wrote my share book, which is all about how to get people people to engage in your posts on social media.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote that book in 2 months, and people were like, "Wow, 2 months!" But
Yeah.
my last book, Optimize This, which I co-authored with a gentleman up in Winnipeg, Canada, and we did everything through Google Hangout, just like I'm interviewing you. And we took those notes, and then I had it transcribed. I took from the transcription and I wrote the book, and then I sent it off to my co-author, and he proofread it from start to finish. We started the book concept in October of 2014. We launched it 45 days later on Thanksgiving of 2014, and by December 10th, it was #1 bestseller in 4 countries on Kindle. So from concept to #1 bestseller in four countries in 60 days.
Yeah, and it's awesome. Like, I mean, you bring up some very, very good points that I always talk about too. Start with a short Kindle ebook, because you'll learn the process of publishing, you'll get a fast win and momentum, and you'll get something out there, and you'll be able to add published author to your bio, and most likely, if you choose your categories correctly on Amazon, you can become a best-selling author right away on Kindle. And so, yeah, my first book, I wrote it in a year because I was working full-time at that time. I started as a physical therapist. For 12 years, I worked in that field. And then I was a professional speaker part-time, and on the weekends and my vacations, my husband and I would travel, and so I had 2 jobs, and I still, over the course of a year, I found snippets of time, and I wrote my book. That was my first book. My last book I wrote in 1 week, from the outline to the publishing on Kindle, and it became, like you said, a #1 bestseller that right away. And so it was like within a week I had that short Kindle ebook, and I've gotten great reviews on it. And so it doesn't have to be a long process, but the key is, and you know this, Rob, when you do it over and over, you get better at it. And, so start with something that's doable. I have authors, they want to write this great big showcase book, and that's great, because I do believe that you should have a showcase book as well, the book that's going to be at the back of the room when you speak at events, that's going to be your business card people don't throw away, those types of things. But if you start with those short ones like what you did, it builds that momentum, you learn the process, and then you can rinse and repeat over and over again. And, after 35 books, I have, rinsed and repeated many times. I'm working on my next one right now.
One of the things that everybody comments or to me about my share book is that, the title was 27 Ways to Boost Your Social Media Experience, Build Trust, and Attract Followers. I think I mixed it up, but anyway, I wrote that I wrote that 2 years ago. And, the very first chapter is share your story, because I believe that people need to know who you are. They need to know that you're just like them.
Exactly.
You had your pitfalls, and you had your joys and your laughters, and people need to realize that your story is unique, and there's nobody out there that has done the same things that you've done. And as much as it pains me to tell people, you know what, you're not stuck. You have a story in there that needs to be told, but they just don't know where to begin. But if they would just sit down and write their story, that could be the catalyst to get them to actually finish their book.
Stories are so powerful, and they engage people right away. One of the things I really recommend authors to do is either in the introduction or the first chapter, because I teach nonfiction book writing, is to include your story. So, you know, your story about that particular topic, what it was like before, what was the turning point, and what was it like after. And on a recent webinar, I was doing a live webinar, one of the chat comments was, I never thought about sharing my story on that topic. I was like, really? You know, but it's so powerful, and yet so many people shy away from sharing, and you don't have to share everything. Like, I share very openly. I mean, if you read all of my books, I mean, you'll find out a lot about me, more than you probably want to know. But that's just who I am. That's who I feel that God has created me to be, is somebody who's open and vulnerable, and it does help people. It inspires them, and I am able to share how I've overcome a lot of difficult things in my life. You don't have to share everything. You can share just part of your story, like just what you shared, Rob, about how, you know, your story of writing those books. That's inspirational. That's like encouraging to me. I love hearing authors' stories of success and being able to finish a project. And so that's part of your story. And we can share those stories on social media. Those go over really well on social media. And that's one thing I've been doing in my videos, is trying to share a story and then connecting it with a tip or a motivational, you know, thing, or something that I can connect it with in teaching, and it really does make a huge difference when you focus on sharing a story.
Now, how can authors use this technology that we're doing now? I mean, I've touched upon it, and I've utilized it to write a book. But, you know, the technology behind not only Google Hangout, but the iPhones, the videos, the YouTubes, you know, the authors need to be able to tell their story, just like you are, just to give tips, to give funny anecdotes, anything. But, you know, what advice do you give authors to use this video technology to their advantage?
I really believe video is one of the most powerful ways to have an instant connection with your readers. So right now I'm looking into the camera, I'm looking into your eyes, you know. You can see me, you can see my expressions, you can see my passion, and even though you may not feel you're good on video, it's like, oh, there's a real person behind that book. And, you know, the more you do it, the more you get better at it, and that's one of the reasons I'm doing so many in a row. But what I recommend authors do is start with your smartphone. So everyone should have a smartphone now, and you can turn your iPhone or your smartphone into a marketing machine. And yeah, mine's getting charged up right now, but
I had to order a new one. The camera doesn't work, so I can't take video.
Yeah, and you can turn it literally into a marketing machine. I switched over to an iPhone late last year, and so what I decided is, this year, my goal was to post a meme every day or a quote graphic, and I used the app WordSwag. It's an inexpensive app on the Apple Store. You have to have an Apple device, like an iPad, an iPhone, or an iPod. But the WordSwag app, I literally within minutes can have a quote image. You can take quotes from your book. You can take quotes, you know, from other people. You can just have funny things or inspirational things. You can have pictures of yourself that you put quotes on there. One time I found a billboard, and it said, write your story, and it was actually for a college, but I stood underneath that billboard and I went like this, and then I had my husband take a picture, and, you know, I could, you know, put other stuff on there, like, are you ready to write your story, you know, that sort of thing, and then post those. But WordSwag has become a marketing machine for me. You can also use Rana Designs if you have an Android, and there's other apps out there, but you can use that for quotes. I also recommend authors put their quotes from their book on Goodreads. So you can go onto Goodreads and go into their quote section, and you can add quotes. So you can actually add your own quotes. Find your best quotes. I like to do that through the Kindle highlight section. So there's a place you can go where you can see what has been highlighted in your book on Kindle, and so you can see the popular highlights. Those tend to be your most powerful quotes from your book. Now, if your book is new or hasn't been read very often, you may not have very many highlights. So you may just have to go through and find your own quotes. But you can put those quotes just as text on Goodreads as well, and that's a social media platform for readers, which can be very powerful. They may be searching for a certain topic and your quote comes up. The other thing I love to do with video is just have my iPhone and to record the videos in 1 to 3 minutes. So you want to keep them short. Keep them short. Make sure you're looking into the camera, into the lens. That's a common mistake. And make sure you record in the horizontal position. Several authors I've seen that do their first video, they record in the vertical position, and then there's a bunch of black space on both sides. So make sure you record in the horizontal position. And if you can invest in just a simple tripod, it really helps, you know, to steady it so you're not like holding it. But, you know, just get started. Just get started recording, and there are so many powerful apps that you can use. Like I've been experimenting with some for intros and outros. I'm doing everything on my iPhone. I'm doing the editing, I'm doing the uploading, and literally the other day I was like timing it from shooting the video to adding a neat intro and outro with my music, you know, all of that on my iPhone. It was like 10 minutes. And I uploaded it to Facebook profile, Facebook page, and YouTube. And it took me like 10 minutes. So once you get used to it, once you have a system, it can become a marketing machine, all from your iPhone. I did this the other day. I was walking, and I got an idea for a story and a tip. So I just you can go to my Facebook page, facebook.com/Shelley Hitz, and you can scroll down and find it. But I was walking and talking, and then I created the intro and outro on my walk, and it was done before I got home. So you don't have to have expensive video equipment. You don't have to have a huge studio. It is nice. Right now I do have a couple lights in my studio, but you can stand in front of a window and use natural light, you know, that sort of thing. So it is really possible for you right now to turn your iPhone into a marketing machine, whether it's quote graphics or videos or both, and just be visible. Be starting to show up in people's feeds, you know, and be engaging. I like to also ask questions. One of the places I find ideas for questions is Post Planner. I don't know if you use that at all. You can also, I found a version of the Ungame at a thrift store, so that's also an option to find questions. And then just from everyday life, things that I'm going through, you know, I'll just ask questions. So ask questions and get some engagement. The more people engage with you, the more your post will start showing up on their feed. So when you have a promotional post, which I recommend only 20% on social media be promotional most of the time. I don't always do that myself, but you know, that's what I recommend. But when you do have a promotional post, then they'll see that as well. So those are just a few ideas.
You know, you touched on questions, and in both my books, Share and Optimize This, I touch on video a little bit. You know, and I found that the perfect video, and it's the very easiest one that you can make, is a question and answer. So
yes.
you pose a question, introduce yourself, answer the question, and tell people how they can get a hold of you. And they're very simple to make, you know, under 2-3 minutes. You don't have to get bogged down in giving long explanations. Just answer the question, you know, be concise. And, you know, if you spend a day just doing these types of videos, you could have 50 of them out there working for you 24/7.
Exactly. Yeah, and what I've done is I've started doing some, you know, keyword research. So as I continue, I think today's day 14 of my 40-day challenge. But I'm going to, at the end, have 40 videos. And what I'm doing with those videos is I'm having them transcribed through rev.com. And so then I edit those transcripts. I put the transcripts in the description on YouTube, and I create a blog post. The blog post has the video, and then it has the transcript. So I have blog posts, I have videos, I have Facebook posts, and then I share it across all the social media platforms. So that content will continue working for me forever on YouTube, on my blog, and it's amazing. I mean, I can create it like in just a few minutes, but yet it's going to be so powerful.
And if you're doing videos like this where you can get somebody to interview you, you can take a 1-hour interview like this, you know, and clip it from every question that someone asks.
Yes.
Into a 2 to 3 minute segment. Put it on your YouTube. Put it on your Facebook. You know, with Google Hangout, it automatically dumps into your YouTube, but you can use free online services like clipconverter.cc. And it'll convert that YouTube video into an AVI file, which then you can put onto Facebook. And it's free. And what's nice about some of these online clip converters is that you can put start and stop times. So, you can actually edit it almost precisely the way you want,
That's a great tip. So in the converter, you can say convert it from this time to this time?
Right.
Cool.
And now, with a 1-hour interview clipped into 20 segments, now you have products out there constantly that it only took you 1 hour of interview time, but now it's clips that are constantly going to be working for you, on YouTube with your different keywords, on Facebook, and what I tell a lot of my clients is don't put all the videos out at once.
Right. You can schedule on YouTube.
Put one a week out, and you'll have content for the next 4 or 5 months.
That is a great tip, and I love that. And I love also, if you've done a speaking engagement where it's been live, you can also do the same thing if you have video of that. Clip it into small pieces. Something I've been doing recently is when I get questions in email, I'll just get on a Google Hangout and I'll answer their question. I'll look into the video and I'll do some screen share. Sometimes if I need to, just a few minutes, I'll answer their question, but then it answers their question, and then they'll be like, you created a video for me? Thank you so much. And it creates raving fans, but it's so simple. It's actually sometimes easier for me to do than to type it out. So, that's another little tip. Questions you're already getting on social media or in an email, just record, or on your phone, just record a quick video. Just say, hey, thank you so much for your question. This is my answer. And then other people benefit from it, and then it's marketing for you in other ways as well.
Right. And the other day I actually made a post because it popped in my head. I didn't have my camera with me or my laptop, and I threw it up, and it was all about getting unstuck. The motivation behind getting unstuck. And it was out there. People were commenting, and they said, "Rob, this is great." I'm thinking, you know what? I had to turn that into a video.
Yes, so, the things that get engagement.
Right. So since my camera doesn't work, I had to actually go into Google Hangouts and record a short 2-minute video, but I basically read verbatim from my Facebook post, and people think, wow, that was kind of natural, and so now that video is on Facebook, it's on YouTube, it's something that people can see and get to know me, but they're also getting a little bit of advice on saying, hey, you know what? This is what you need to do.
You should put it on your blog too, if you haven't.
Right. Well, I don't know if I have so much on my blog sometimes it gets a little haywire. But we talked about video. We talked about social media. Now, you have a product called Ascent Method, where it'll help authors that are kind of struggling to get them to write maybe a little bit faster, a little bit better, to get their product out there. Can you tell us a little bit more about it?
Yeah, so the Ascent Method is, just my signature method for writing books. And like I said, I wrote my first book in 2008, and since then I've written 35 books, over 35 books. Our publishing company with my husband and I, we've published over 50. And so I've been fairly prolific in that time. And when I was thinking, what can I help authors with the most? What is the thing that I really excel in? And it's writing fast, and not necessarily just, sometimes when you think about writing fast, you think about that it's not good quality. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about writing a quality book, but having a system, and the Ascent Method is an acronym, and the S in the Ascent is system. And having those systems, I have templates, checklists, and processes in place that over time I've developed, because I've done it so many times. When you do something over and over, just like with the videos, I'm developing a system, and I'm going to teach that system to other authors so they can get videos that look professional up within 10 minutes on their iPhone. But it's developing systems, and that's what has been the powerful thing for me with creating these books. But the A in the Ascent Method is authenticity, and I really believe, especially with nonfiction books, that you're going to have the best results when you are you. You know, you're being you, you're being real, you're sharing from your own experience and passion. Now, doesn't mean you can't write from other things that you just research on your own, and it doesn't mean you can't outsource. But I just believe that when you write something that comes from your heart, that comes from your experience and your knowledge, it's going to make an impact so much more than just writing content. Now, I have a book topic formula that I teach, and it basically is your passion plus your knowledge plus the demand on Amazon is a best-selling book idea. And it doesn't mean that you can't write a book that doesn't have demand on Amazon. I've written just passion books. I know there's not a huge demand, but I write them because I know that that's, you know, it's just something that I feel like God has asked me to write or that I just want to write, but I know they're probably not going to be selling as many copies because there's not the demand. And then there's some books that you may not have as much passion for, but you have a ton of knowledge and you know you could really help a ton of people with it. But when you have all three of those things, it's the sweet spot. And it's that spot where you're going to write that book fast because you have knowledge, you have the passion for it, because you know how it is, Rob. It takes energy. It takes time to cross that finish line when you're writing a book. And so if you're not really that passionate, or if you don't have strong reasons to finish that book, it's going to get pushed aside because there's so many other things in our life that we have, so many other demands. But I think every business should have a book to market themselves. Amazon is one of the biggest search engines in the world. You know, you can be found on Google, you can be found on YouTube, but what about Amazon? Is your business, is your, you know, is who you are, like, can people even find you there? You can write a nonfiction book with keywords in the title and get found. For instance, I have a book, Self-Publishing Books 101. I wrote the title of the book based upon the keyword self-publishing books. And that book is perma-free on Amazon, so it's bringing me leads for my business on autopilot 24/7 without me doing anything. Amazon does everything. And I get about 1,000 downloads per month. I've had over 30,000 people download that book on the US Amazon site alone, and then they have the opportunity to come into my email list and to get to know, like, and trust me. And so Amazon can be so powerful, but what is your why? Why is it that you're writing this book? And know so that you have the passion to finish. The C in the ascent is create. And so that's the part that I think, you know, we want to create. We want to, a lot, I think, as entrepreneurs, as business owners, as, you know, I mean, the create part is just, you know, that's what we do. We create, and we can rinse and repeat. And then the E is, wait, let's see, the scent, yeah. Let me grab my notes real quick. I just blocked out. Yeah, so the E is enjoy. That's the one I forgot. Enjoy. And so I love to encourage authors to enjoy. I recently went through the process last year of going through Strength Finder 2.0. Have you used that, Rob? That book?
No.
Okay, it's a book that also has a quiz, or, you know, a thing that you can take, and it will tell you, like, what your top strengths are. And I really recommend that authors, you know, find out, like, what are your sweet spots, what are your strengths. You know, also the book by Sally Hogshead, How the World Sees You. I read that last year, and that really helped me. But find out what works best for you so you can enjoy the process. So for some people, like what you said, it's going to be easier for them to speak the book and then have it transcribed. And if that's what comes easy to you, if that's what you enjoy, you're going to be able to finish the book a lot faster doing it in that way. For others, it's writing. They just love to write, you know? And, you know, find what works best for you. So for some authors, I recommend getting their inspiration offline and then bringing it online. And what I mean by that is you might need to be at a whiteboard with colors and writing all over the place, or you might need to have sticky notes or index cards and write all your chapter topics on these and then rearrange them offline. Or maybe you're more of an online person and mind maps really works well for you, or Evernote or Trello. You know, there's so many options, but I want you to enjoy the process as an author. Find your sweet spot. Find what's going to fuel you, because then you'll be more likely to finish it. And then the N is never give up. If you follow me at all, you'll know that I'm very much of an, you know, inspirational, motivational person, and just encouraging people to never give up. You know, I've been through a lot of hard things in my life, and yet, you know, I've been able to overcome last year, I live in Colorado Springs, and I'm not an athlete, but my husband is. He is an elite runner, and he's run the Pikes Peak Ascent. And it's a half marathon up the mountain of Pikes Peak. At the top of Pikes Peak, you only have 40% of your oxygen. It's pretty intense. So, and you're just climbing the whole time. I decided last year, crazy idea, to do this. I thought maybe I can just at least finish. You know, my husband finishes in the top 20, but I was like, well, maybe I can just at least finish in the cutoff time. The cutoff time is 6.5 hours. So I trained for this and trained for this and I mean, although writing books comes easy for me, I know what it feels like to attempt something that is so hard and just seems impossible. Like for some people, writing a book seems impossible, but I was just looking at this mountain. I mean, there would be times I'd almost have a panic attack. But my husband was coaching me. He was giving me my plans every week, what to do next, and then he was giving me that encouragement. And I'm happy to, share that I crossed that finish line. So I was able to not only cross and finish before the cutoff time, but I beat my biggest goal. But my whole point is to never give up, even when it seems impossible. I had tons of obstacles come up when I was training for that race, and I almost, gave up several times. And then the T in the Ascent is transformation. So when you write a book, you're leaving behind a legacy. You are leaving a legacy that will outlive you. So you're able to bring transformation into other people's lives, but also it can transform your life. I earn a majority of my income through book royalties that are deposited, automatically into my account every month. That is transformational for me and for my husband because, we're able to pay our bills. I'm able to have a business. I no longer, I've been full-time in business 3.5 years now, no longer work as a physical therapist. And, so it can, transform other people's lives, but also transform your life when you're able to cross that finish line. And then once you do, rinse and repeat. There's power in having multiple books in your niche on Amazon and having them promoting each other and so forth. So that's the basics of the Ascent method that I teach. And obviously I go into much more detail. If you sign up for the free video series on my site, I also share 10 ways to outline your book. And it's a video training that I'll show, I show you some things about that too.
Speaking of transformations, when I set out to be a social media guru and an SEO expert, it was 2009. I had spent many years, almost 2 decades in the carpet cleaning business. And 2009 I had discovered, well, it was about a year after I discovered Facebook and LinkedIn and all this other stuff, and I was using it for my cleaning business, and I thought, I can teach this. I know this stuff. And I started writing articles for a cleaning magazine, and they kept saying, write some more, do this, do that, and I'm like, and I would get trickle on, here a client, there a client, and I thought, this just, it's not happening fast enough, and I almost gave up, and it was at that point in the end of 2012, when I wrote my first ebook, which then in 2013 wrote the print book, in 2014 wrote the next book, and now today I actually am halfway through my next book, and I have 2 more planned. But here's the thing, is that when you write that book, it does transform your life, because I don't clean carpet anymore. I work from home. I make more money than I ever did before. I have more freedom. I can take my laptop and my cell phone and go anywhere.
Exactly.
We're going to Florida in a couple weeks, and my wife and I are going to Italy in October. And I couldn't have done any of this, in my past life. So once you write that book, whether or not you make money at it or not, it does transform you, because you put your life, you put your heart and soul into that book. And yes, you do leave, it does leave a legacy out there, and people can say, wow, my dad wrote that book, or my uncle wrote that book, or that guy down the street, he's an author. And my neighbors see me outside all the time doing yard work, and they're like, what the hell do you do for a living? I said, I'm a writer. And they're like, yeah right. But I get clients now all the time that ask me to ghostwrite their blogs and write material for them. And, I have gotten very good at what I do now. And just the other day, I spent 20 minutes and wrote like a 600-word article for this doctor. and I put it up on his blog, and he shared it to his Facebook, and he got like 100 likes right away, and it was shared like 29 times, and now he's getting all this business, and it was just from that one blog. So the
Yeah, and
potential out there is amazing.
yeah, and it sounds like writing is your sweet spot. Like that's
Well,
just, where you shine and you're able to do it, efficiently and well. And part of that transformation too, like you said, yeah, it's not just finances. It's I had a client recently and she's like, Shelley, I've wanted to publish a book for 20 years and I finally published my first book and now she's on a roll. She has so much material that she's written in the last 20 years. She's probably going to publish about 10 books this year. It is just but what it was accomplishing a goal and fulfilling a dream that she has had for 20 years. And so sometimes that transformation is simply crossing that finish line, doing something that you've always wanted to do. And I'm sure you've heard the same statistic, but 80% of people want to write a book someday, but very few actually do it. And so that's part of the transformational process too, is finishing. And like you said, people are like, wow, you're an author? Really?
Well, what's ironic is that in high school I hated English, and I still do. And the funny thing is that I probably violate every single grammar rule out there, and I don't care, because when I write in a conversational style, just like we're talking, and people relate to it better.
They do.
So when they're reading my book, Share. I've had people respond and they'll say, "Wow, Rob, it was like having a 2-hour conversation with you, and it was just so easy to read and so natural." And and then you have these other people that, "Oh, well, I have to be an MBA and I have to write, proper." And
yes,
proper is boring. And I'm sorry, but if your book is 800 pages of proper grammar, I'm not interested in reading it.
Well, it's interesting because that's what I teach too, is to write in a conversational way, and it does really engage people. Now, my mom is a professor at a college, at a seminary, and so she's written some books for her classes. Now, her books are going to be a little bit different because they're educational, and need to be, in that certain, format and a ton of research and all of that. But for the most part, when you write in that conversational way, and I am the first to admit I am not the best writer out there, even though I've sold a lot more books than most people. I'm real, I'm conversational, and then I know marketing. And so that's been part of my success, is that I've been able to been able to be successful in the marketing side. But people, they can relate to that. And, I had somebody tell me the other day, I'm in Toastmasters, because I'm a speaker, and that's my focus this year, is really just improving my speaking. And my first speech, somebody's comments, was, you didn't have enough big words or vocabulary. But that's just me. I speak simple. I speak in a way that people can understand. And one of the best compliments one of my clients gave me, one of my students, she said, Shelley, you take something so complex and are able to explain it in such a simple way that I can understand. So sometimes it can be a gift to be able to do that, because then people can grasp it. But then other people may look at that and think, oh, you're just talking such simple language. But I think I agree with you, Rob. That's what I do and that's what I teach. And if you have, the bigger vocabulary and you want to reach a certain niche audience where that really speaks to them, you have to know your audience. But for the most part, when it's conversational, it really helps somebody to be drawn in and to understand it even more.
I was giving a speech in Denton, Texas last year for a lexicon writers convention conference, and I'll be giving another talk in July of this year at the same organization. And about 5 minutes before the event, one of the audience members said, "Do you know what you're going to talk about?" I said, "I have no idea." And they're like, "What do you mean you don't have it? You don't have a canned speech?" I said, "No, I never give canned speeches." I said, "I get up there and I kind of gauge the audience and I wing it." And they're like, "What? You can't wing it." I said, "Look, I'll give you, and I said, the whole thing is I'm going to talk about, social media. So it's kind of wide open, but as I gauged the audience and interacted with the audience prior to speaking, I got the idea of what they needed to hear, what they wanted, what they desired, and I just stood up, told a few stories, gave people a way to know who I was, so that they could trust me, so that no matter what I said, although it was entertaining, it wasn't a put offish. And people came to me afterwards and they said, you know what, I loved your speech better than the keynote speech. And I'm like, wow, okay, that was great, thanks. And the thing is, I was just relaxed. I sat on a table. I didn't, my hands went all over the place. But the thing is, they got the real person. And I think that a lot of authors forget that. They forget that once they write that book, they're still them. They get more serious. And they think that they have to be this proper person when they're out and about. And it's still them, and they need to be them, because here's the thing about, one of the big things I teach is trust creation. If people see you online acting one way, and when they see you in real life acting another, that's not trust.
It'll be a disconnect.
That's right. And so they're going to say, well, wait a minute, then who's really online? Is someone else posting for them? Because that's not them. So, make sure that what you're doing is consistent, in your real life and online.
Yeah, a quick story on that. It's not necessarily like what they were posting, it was their picture. Like, I have a couple different colleagues that I got to know online, and I've been friends with them for years. And, I've seen their same picture that they use across different social media channels, and that's how I know them. Well, the first time that I met this one colleague in person, she looked totally different than her picture, and it felt like a total disconnect, and almost like an integrity thing. Like, you're presenting yourself different than what you even look like. And the other person too, I got on a hangout with her like you and I are doing. She looked totally different than the headshot she uses everywhere, and all this. I'm still friends with them and colleagues and everything, but there was this feeling of like, what else is she hiding? You know what I mean? Like, what else is she or representing in a way that's actually different in real life? And so that is so powerful when you and that's why video is so powerful. It's who I am. This is me today. I'm not behind a picture. I'm not behind a post. It's like, this is me. And so, yeah, it's so important, because I have felt that feeling of disconnect and almost a little bit of mistrust, like you were saying, and trying to create that trust is essential.
Now, with 35 books, what do people say to you? Because, they'll come up to me and say, well, 3 books, 5 books, where do you have time? And so when people start seeing authors that have multiple books, in the dozens or hundreds, I know somebody that has, hundreds of books. People are like, did you write them all? And they come up with these weird questions. I don't know why they do that, but maybe it's just disbelief because they can't even write one book.
Yeah, I actually haven't gotten that question of, have you written them all? But I bet you people are thinking that, but there's only one book, and I'm very honest about this. There's one book that I had ghostwritten, but all of the rest are me. But part of my secret to success is that if you look at my books, quite a few of them are co-authored. So I had somebody else helping me create the content, and then I have several anthologies, which are just collections of stories or tips or chapters from different contributors. And so then I had a project manager that would help me organize that, and then we would publish a book with several different people. So I haven't written 100% of every book that I've published, because some of them are co-authored or anthologies, but I have systems and I have ways that I've been able to get those books out, and it's me. Like I said, one book was ghostwritten, but I didn't really like that process. I didn't find that it was what I thought, I'm going to try it, because everyone's like, outsource, outsource, outsource. So I tried it, and I was like, no, it's not for me.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I take on a lot of projects from people because I ghostwrite for others.
yeah,
And,
that's true. I
and,
mean, you're a ghostwriter, so.
and I have to wonder, how people, when they take what I give them, and they can look someone in the face and say, yeah, that's me. I'm like, no. But the thing is that as a ghostwriter, you get absolutely zero credit.
Yeah.
You get paid for it, but you cannot say down the road, yeah, I wrote that. 'Cause
How
it'll
many
come
books have
back.
you got ghostwritten?
I have not ghostwritten any books. I've
Okay.
ghostwritten, let's see, 35 blogs, a bunch of articles.
Okay. But if
I
someone
think,
came to you and said, "Would you help me write this book?" Would you?
I have
Would
someone
you?
that I'm co-authoring. I'd rather co-author the
Okay.
book
Yeah,
because
I
then
think
I
that's
have more
that's a great
control.
idea.
I don't really want to ghostwrite a book because you're putting your heart and soul into that book.
Exactly.
I want my name on that book. Um,
Yeah.
and I know that there are people that ghostwrite that end up getting their name on that book because they're bigger names. But yeah, I don't think I could live with myself if it was a book out there that was making a lot of money and I couldn't tell anybody I ghostwrote it.
Yeah. Well, and I tell people if you can't do anything else, ghostwriting a book, is an option for you, but 99% of the time I recommend either, writing it or speaking it, having it transcribed, or getting a co-author like you said, or, anthology, something like that. But yeah, I mean, it definitely is an option
Well,
if you.
you had touched on earlier Rev.com, and I actually used that company to do all the transcriptions of the audio or the videos that Paul and I, my co-author on Optimize This, we would send them the videos and they would transcribe it, send me the Word doc, and then I would just take bits and pieces of that transcription. And I think it was a 24, 48-hour turnaround, and it was very cheap. And it was, I think it was probably 99% accurate.
Yeah, I've been using them for all my videos that I've been doing, and some of my videos, since they're so short, like I said, under 3 minutes, I literally get them back within like 10 or 15 minutes. Like it's fast, and if not, like yeah, it's definitely usually within 24 hours. Now with a longer one, it's going to take a little bit longer, but I did have a longer video transcribed, and they were still fast. I mean, they're fast, they're accurate. I've been using them for a while now, and it's a great way to get your content done. And then if you don't have the time to do all the editing, you can hire somebody. That you at least you have the content right there, and then you can work with an editor or work with, and just begin working through that material, but you have that raw material to work with.
I get calls all the time from publishers trying to hammer me to switch to their service, to spend gobs of money for them to promote me. And I said, why would I do that? I'm a marketer. I know how to do. I've written all my own copy. I've written my books. I've done the. I can see why there are people out there that need that helping hand, but I think with the process that you have, it will help them write their book. It'll give them ideas on how to market. They may be a little uncomfortable at first doing it, especially with videos, but the more that you do it, the easier it becomes. And I don't think they need to go out there and spend a lot of money selling their soul to these big publishers to get their book out there.
No, I really think in the age we're in right now, the technology with the print-on-demand technology, the ebook technology, and even audiobooks, you can self-publish and have quality content, but and then with social media and everything, like people, I get emails all the time, who do you recommend that can do my marketing for me? And one of the things I tell authors, I said, you can outsource a lot of things. And Rob, I'm sure you outsource things. There's things that you can outsource, but there's certain things I just think that the author needs to be doing themselves. Like you said, with social media, there can be a real big disconnect if you're having someone else do all your posting and coming up with your content. Now you can come up with your content and then have somebody else post it for you, and schedule it for you and do all the back end stuff for you. the technical stuff for you, but as far as creating the content for your marketing and doing that sort of thing, I just think there's no one better to do it than you. You know, you're the one that knows your content. You're the one that knows your book, and you know, you can create that content and then have some people in the background helping you. Like I just recently hired a video and audio editor on Odesk, and you know, he's taking away that side of it for me. I don't need to do that. I can create the content, and then he can, you know, make it pretty and edit it and do all of that stuff for me. So, yeah, I mean, and what I found a lot of authors that will tell me that have hired big publicity firms is that their return on investment has not been worth it. And so you have to be very careful. You know, sometimes they'll say, I'll set you up this website, I'll set you up this, I'll set you up that. But what is it going to really result in? You know, I mean, it is good to have an author platform, and sometimes you do need to outsource those things. But if you're looking for results, if you're looking for sales, then you need more than just a website. You need to have the marketing, and that's what you're talking about, Rob, and that's what you're, you know, you do so well. And that's what I said. That's been, you know, a big part of my success is the marketing. I've been in internet marketing for over a decade. I've been earning money online in some way even before I quit my job, you know, over 10 years. And so I had that background in marketing before I was an author, and that really helped me.
You know, let's go to Amazon, because, you know, people have a hard time, I think, with buying books online, not just print books. And what I think that really helps authors is getting those testimonials. And they forget to ask. They say, you know, buy my book. You know, this is where my book is. It's on Amazon. But they forget to ask people to go back and review the book, to leave 5-star reviews, because that really helps. You know, I think what it is you need at least 10 reviews for Amazon to start pushing it out there in emails and recommending it to others. But authors forget to do that.
Yeah, I have a book called How to Get Honest Reviews. I'm hearing a little bit of feedback. I'm not sure if it's me or if it's Google Hangouts, but in that book I share several different ways to get reviews, and there's so many ways to do it. You don't have to just do one way, but the very first and most obvious is to ask. So at the end of my books, I say, you know, reviews are like gold to authors, because they are, right, Rob? When you get a review, it's like gold. It's like, yes, thank you so much, and it's like gold. And you know, most people that read a book and enjoy it are not going to post a review typically. It's just like marketing. We have to add calls to action, right? Because people, you know, they'll tend to do something if you tell them what to do, you know, and that's just make it simple. So at the end of your book, if you enjoyed my book, I'd appreciate your honest review on Amazon. But one of the most powerful things for me, in 2012, I published 23 books. It was my most prolific year. It was my first year to be full-time as an author, so I wasn't working, so I had all my time I could devote into it. And for each book, my goal is to get 10 reviews in the beginning. And so after publishing so many books, I mean, I was burnt out at the end of 2012 trying to get reviews, and honest reviews. Like, I wasn't buying, I wasn't doing, you know, things against Amazon's terms of service. I was hustling to get reviews, honest reviews. Well, I was noticing that some of these big publishers have book review programs, and they'll send you a free book, and, you know, you'll review it on Amazon, your blog, whatever. And I thought, you know, they have these big book review programs. Why can't I, as an independent publisher? And so I set up my own book review program. And all it is, I mean, we're marketers, all it is an email opt-in list. And somebody, if they email me and say, I loved your books, this and that, would you be interested in joining my book reviewer program? You can get my books for free in exchange for your honest review on Amazon. And so now I have hundreds of people. It takes a while to build these lists, but, you know, especially if you're going to be publishing a lot of books, you know, to begin the process of building this, now I can send out one email, and usually within 24 hours I have 35 people saying, yes, I'm willing to read and review your book. Of those 35, I get at least my 10, you know, to post, and sometimes I get 35, you know, within, you know, a few days. And so it's been so powerful for me to have that book reviewer program and to be able to have something like that in place. But there's tons of ways to get reviews. It's not just, by asking or by that. I mean, that's I go into more depth on that in my book, but I think it's so important to have that social proof. But it's also, we don't know for certain, but it also does appear that it impacts the algorithms on Amazon. So the more reviews you have, like some of my books have 100, 200 reviews, and the more reviews that you have, the more that Amazon tends to then recommend your book. And customers who bought this also bought this, or out into their emails and that sort of thing. So, it's so important, especially to get those first 10, and then I just let them come in organically from there. But put a call to action in your book. Ask people, that email you or that tell you, I read your book, I really enjoyed it. Would you mind just posting that on Amazon, as an honest review? And people will do it. It's really amazing.
Yesterday I got an email from Amazon, and they said that we recommend these 6 books to you, and 2 of them were mine.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm going to buy my own book.
But they're sending out emails about your book.
Right, and that is that is one way to get Amazon to work with you, because, when they're taking a little bit of your commission because they're selling your book for you, you want them to sell as many books as possible. So those reviews really help, boost that algorithm. As far as we know, I mean, it could have some monkey over there programming, and the whole thing is luck. But I think for what we know, that algorithm is pretty accurate, and so as long as you get those positive reviews, then it's going to work well for you.
Yeah, it seems to be your book ranking, so that you're actually selling books, and your reviews seem to be the top 2 indicators of Amazon then sharing your book with others.
The Kindle. I have all my books on Kindle. 2 of my books are in print, and only 1 is exclusive to Kindle because it's just an ebook. But here's the thing: I find I sell more print books than I do Kindle. Kindle is great, but I think that too many authors get hung up on the price point. With a print book, they have a physical book, you can turn the pages and whatnot. With a Kindle, granted there are Kindle devices out there, you can get them on your iPhone, your iPad, and your Kindle. And maybe it's just me, but I don't know. I think more people are gravitating back to print books.
Yeah, I think it depends on your audience, because we still sell a lot more Kindle books than print books, and most of our books are in Kindle print and audiobook version, and then I even translated one of my books into Spanish, so it's in a different language. But you can have multiple versions of the same book, and I do recommend that you do that, because I get royalties from print books, from audiobooks, and Kindle books every month. And so it's diversifying my income with the work I did one time. And so I definitely recommend that. I think some of it has to do with your audience, some of it has to do with your marketing, but we tend to definitely sell more Kindle books than print books. But when I'm at events and speaking, I definitely sell a lot of print books. And so it's great to have that. And I definitely recommend diversifying and having those other formats. But yeah, I think it just depends.
I found that occasionally I'll put my Kindle book at 99 cents just to see what the reaction is, and maybe do a 3-day sale. But if I keep the book at $9.99, I actually sell more Kindle books than I do at a lower price point. But there are others that sell thousands at the $2.99 or $3.99 point. So I think it depends on the subject. I think it depends on your audience.
It does, yeah.
And maybe your books are priced all over the place. I don't know. I haven't checked all your books out.
Yeah.
But I also sell my books on my website, and sometimes I sell more on my website than I do through online book retailers like Amazon or Barnes & Noble.
Yeah, and that's a great way, to again diversify your income, and then you're not having to share as many of the book royalties with other people because you're selling it from direct, basically, directly from your website, and it's just another great way to do it. I love the fact that Amazon or other retailers take care of everything. So they deliver the ebook. They, handle any returns or support request. They deal with everything. And so for a lot of authors, the easiest way to get started is by using those companies. But yeah, once you are able to get things set up on your site and you're ready to be able to handle support requests and have your own payment processor through PayPal is the easiest way. That is a great way to do it as well. You can also sell books on sites like selz.com, selz.com, and others, gumroad.com, that they'll help handle all the back end stuff, if you don't have that process to do it on your website. But the more places you can offer your book, the better, I think.
I just looked at the time, and we could probably talk about this for hours and hours, and I think that it would be a huge benefit to those authors out there, and I know that there are a lot of people out there who don't consider themselves authors, but one day you will write a book, and you will be considered an author. But in the next 2 minutes or 3 minutes that we have left, Shelley, is there anything that you want to share with the listeners? A piece of motivation, something that you've done, something that you think that an author should know?
What I'm realizing, the more that I coach with authors, is one of the biggest stumbling blocks is right between here. It's our own mindset, and it's self-doubt. One author said, I don't have a PhD behind my name, so who am I to write a book? Someone else said, no one will read my book. And so there's these things that I call stinking thinking. It's self-doubt, and that is probably going to be your biggest obstacle. And so I just recommend right now that you start just identifying it and to say, okay, I'm letting that go, and then replace it with what you were saying. I will be an author, and surround yourself with people that can help encourage and support you in this. With this Rob, work with Rob, or take some of my trainings, or work with people that can coach you and help you. When I was doing the Ascent, my husband was coaching me step by step. He had been through the Ascent race twice before. He knew what to expect. He knew exactly what to do. And so if you need help, find a coach that can help you. But don't let that self-doubt stop you. It is your time to shine. It is your time to share that information with the world. You're only doing a disservice to other people if you keep that information to yourself. Somebody needs what you have within you. And so I just encourage you to share it and to do whatever you need to do to overcome the mindset stuff, most importantly, because that is probably the biggest stopping point.
Now, throughout this video, people could see that you have a Twitter handle and also the website on your banner. But is there other avenues or other places where they can contact you for advice or for help or to learn more about the process of becoming an author?
Yeah, so if you go to my website, shelleyhitz.com, you can find all my social media outlets, but pretty much anywhere on social media, just search my name, Shelley Hitz, and you'll find me. The place I hang out the most is Facebook. So it's facebook.com/Shelley Hitz, and my business page is facebook.com/author audience. So just come check me out. I'm on Instagram, Pinterest. I'm everywhere, and I tell authors to focus on 1 or 2 platforms, but I teach marketing, and so I'm everywhere. You'll find me on LinkedIn, everywhere. So wherever you're at, come find me, and I'd love to connect with you.
And she is very high energy, so if you're into that, check her out.
Yes, yeah. And even if you're not, like I said, I've had people that aren't, and I try to give great information, so I'd love to connect with you.
Yeah, this was a great interview, and hopefully we can have you back again. For all those out there, give Shelley a thumbs up. Tell her that you really enjoyed this. Send her a message. Let her know that these types of interviews help. Not only you, but Shelley wants to know your feedback. So, give her that 5 minutes or 2 minutes, or you just zip it, an email and say, hey, great interview, thumbs up. say hi. Anyway, this is Rob Anspach and my co-star here today, Shelley Hitz, and we'll see you and talk later.
See you, everyone.